While it's great to have a camera that's facing forward, capturing what you see in front of you, almost equally as important is a rear-facing camera that's going to tell the whole story of what's going on behind you. Just as important as having that rear-facing camera is where you mount that camera. You want good field of vision, you want a solid location, and you want a location that's not going to vibrate a lot, it's not going to bounce a lot, it's going to have a good, stable image. I'm going to go through what's worked for me. Different options work better on different bikes. It's all what works best for your particular situation, so let me know in the comments what works for you. This one's going to double for 2. It's very similar to mounting on the seat post, but in this case I set up a PVC pipe behind my rear rack in order to mount my tail light and now my camera on this bike. And I find it works best on this particular setup where I have a rear rack where I'm able to mount that camera too. I have found this to be a good perspective. It's up pretty level with the bike, it's not too low to the ground, and it's a pretty stable mounting position. It also has good field of view and it's not blocked by anything as far as what is behind me. My road bike lacks a rear rack and I have an under seat bag to carry stuff in, so seat post mount isn't going to work. I had to think outside the box and decided to try the rear chainstay. This worked out pretty well. Only downside is it's a pretty low perspective. That is, the camera is mounted pretty close to the ground and has to look up. It's an awkward perspective for cars approaching. It gets a lot of view of the sky. Even given the perspective issues, it's a decent mount. It's a stable, solid position that doesn't bounce or vibrate a lot. It works, but it's not the best. Only word of caution is to use the necessary extensions to get it far enough back so the back of your foot or heel is not striking the camera. To attempt to solve this perspective issue, I tried raising it up by about 6 inches using an extension for my GoPro mount. While this did adjust the perspective higher to some degree, it also came with its downside. The added extension added a lot of vibration and bouncing and made the footage not as good, so I didn't stay with this type of mount. Ultimately, what I found worked best on my road bike was to mount my rear-facing camera on the handlebars. Few things. One, it's a good perspective, it's up high enough, it's stable, doesn't bounce around a lot, and it also captures a lot of me and the bike in it. That gives perspective of myself versus vehicles that are overtaking and my position on the road. I think I like this mounting location best for my road bike. This handlebar solution may work well on other bikes, including my mountain bikes. However, I broke my seat post style mount that I would clamp around the handlebars, and I was trying to think of other options to use on this bike right here. So I thought outside the box and I attempted to mount my rear camera on the helmet. I'm going to show how that worked out. As you can see from this video playback, my camera caught a lot of my rear bag. So while this might work out well if I didn't have a bag on my back, it's still not going to work for my purposes of commuting to work. I had to try something else. I kept the same mounting location as it was opposite of the camera on the other side of my helmet, only I swung that extension arm out quite a bit so it would clear my back. The downside of this, of course, by extending that out, was that it created a lot of bouncing and vibration and an unstable image. One other downside of mounting the camera on the back of your helmet is that when you're looking down, the camera's looking at the sky. When you look side to side, of course, the camera's pointing opposite side to side and not looking at what's behind you. The only plus side to this is the camera's definitely visible to passing motorists. In the future, even when on a mountain bike, I think I'm still going to go with mounting my rear-facing camera underneath the handlebars. I also like the fact the camera is easily accessible to me to ensure 1, it's still recording, and 2, to be able to clean that lens off if I'm riding in bad weather. Last thing I'll throw up here is a split comparison showing all these different videos at once and how they look. I'm going to let this run for a few seconds for a good comparison. So while that handlebar mount may have its downsides, it moves side to side as you're moving your bars back and forth, I definitely feel that this is the best option for me. It has great perspective, it's a pretty sturdy and stable mount, doesn't bounce around a lot. If you disagree or have other suggestions, feel free to hit up the comments below, certainly open to new ideas. Of course, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Make sure you're getting the latest videos coming out from me. That's all we have for today's video. We'll see you next time, and ride safe out there.